The sterile beep of the heart monitor filled the room like a countdown. Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago had become my second home these past 6 months, but on that rainy October day in 2024, it became the place where my entire world fractured. My mother, Eleanor Thompson, 65 years old and ravaged by cancer, gripped my hand with a strength that belied her condition. "Alex," she breathed, her voice a rasp against the oxygen mask. Her blue eyes, the same shade as mine, locked onto me with an urgency I had never seen. "There's something I have to tell you, before it's too late." I leaned in, my heart hammering. "Mom, you don't have to." "Victoria," she whispered, cutting me off. "Find Victoria Lang. She was the love of my life. I never stopped loving her. Not for a single day." The words landed like a blow. Victoria? The name meant nothing to me. My father, Robert, was the only man she'd ever spoken of with affection. Their marriage was the envy of our Evanston neighborhood. 43 years, 2 children, a house with the white picket fence. Perfect. Before I could ask who this Victoria was, her hand went limp. The monitor screamed its flatline. Nurses burst in, but the doctor shook his head. She was gone. I sat there, frozen, as they covered her face. My father entered, his face pale. He pulled me into his arms, but I felt nothing. Only the echo of her final words. The days blurred into funeral arrangements. St. Mark's Church was packed. Colleagues from her years as a high school English teacher, neighbors from our block, old friends from college, everyone spoke of Eleanor as the devoted wife, the loving mother, the woman who had built a beautiful life with Robert. "Such a strong marriage," Aunt Clara said at the reception, dabbing her eyes. "They were high school sweethearts, you know." High school sweethearts. That's what we'd always been told. Mom and Dad met at a dance in 1977, fell in love, married right after college. The story was legend in our family. But now that story felt like a lie. At home that night, with my husband Mark asleep beside me and our daughter Lily tucked in down the hall, I couldn't close my eyes. Victoria Lang. The name haunted me. I searched online, but there were too many. I needed more. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. Dad was at the lawyer's handling the will. The house felt hollow without her. In her study, I opened the desk drawer she had always kept locked. Inside were letters, photos, a small leather journal. One photo stopped my breath. Mom, young and radiant in bell-bottom jeans, arm linked with a tall woman with striking features and a warm smile. On the back, in Mom's handwriting, "Ellie and Vic, Champaign, 1979. My heart is yours." My knees buckled. This was her. The woman my mother had loved more than anything. I unfolded a letter, yellowed with age. "Dearest Ellie, the days without you stretch endlessly. I know why you chose the path you did, your family's expectations, the world we lived in. But please know that what we had was real. It was the truest thing in my life. If you ever need me, I'll be here. With all my love, forever. Victoria." Tears fell onto the paper. My mother had sacrificed everything for a life that wasn't hers. For me. For my brother. For the family image. I hid the evidence in my bag as Dad returned. He looked exhausted. "Your mother left everything to you and your brother," he said. "She loved you both so much." I nodded, but the question burned inside me. How much had he known? Had their entire marriage been a performance? That evening, I sat with Mark on the porch. Mom said something strange before she died. I began. He listened quietly. "People say odd things when they're dying, Alex. Hallucinations, regrets. Don't read too much into it." But I couldn't let it go. The seed of doubt had been planted, and it was growing into something I couldn't ignore. Over the next week, I became obsessed. During the day, I worked remotely as a graphic designer from our Evanston home, but my mind was elsewhere. At night, after Lily was in bed and Mark was watching sports, I dug deeper. I started with the University Alumni Directory. University of Illinois, class of 1981. Eleanor Hayes, her maiden name, and Victoria Lang. There she was. Victoria Lang graduated with honors in psychology. Current address in Madison, Wisconsin. A phone number. My hand shook as I dialed. It rang 4 times. "Hello." A woman's voice, warm but cautious. Is this Victoria Lang? Yes, who is this? My name is Alexandra Thompson. Eleanor Thompson's daughter. Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. Eleanor. Oh my God. Is she? She passed away last week. Another silence, longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice cracked. I'm so sorry, Alexandra. Your mother was an incredible woman. I found some letters, I said. She mentioned you in her last words. She said you were the love of her life. Victoria let out a soft sound, half laugh, half sob. She said that? After all these years. She asked me to find you. We talked for an hour. She told me they had met in freshman year in a literature class. Instant connection. They fell in love quietly, in a time when being lesbian meant hiding, risking everything. They shared an apartment off campus, planned a future together, travel, maybe a small bookstore. Then Mom's family found out. Her father, a strict Methodist minister, threatened to cut her off. The pressure mounted. Victoria's own family was no better. In 1980, there was no acceptance, no pride parades in small-town Illinois. Mom chose safety. She married my father, who had been a friend, someone stable. Victoria moved to Madison, built a life as a therapist, never married. I let her go because I loved her, Victoria said. But I never stopped waiting for a call that never came. I hung up, tears streaming. My mother had lived a lie for 4 decades. For us. Dad noticed my distraction. You've been quiet since the funeral, he said one evening over dinner. Just processing, I lied. But the truth was clawing at me. I needed to meet Victoria in person. I booked a train to Madison the following weekend. Mark thought it was a work trip. Lily waved goodbye, oblivious. Victoria met me at the station. She was 70 but still striking, silver hair in a neat bob, kind eyes behind glasses. We hugged like old friends. Over coffee in her cozy apartment, she showed me photos I had never seen. Mom and her on a beach in Michigan, laughing. Mom with short hair, looking freer than I'd ever known her. She wrote to me for years, Victoria said. Secret letters hidden in books. She told me about you, about your brother. How proud she was. But she also told me how empty she felt. Why didn't she leave? I asked. Fear. Guilt. The world back then. And even now, in some ways. She thought staying was the right thing. For you kids especially. The weight crushed me. My happy childhood had been built on her sacrifice. When I returned home, Dad was waiting. Where were you really? I couldn't lie anymore. I met Victoria Lang. His face went white. How did you? Mom told me. On her deathbed. He sat down heavily. She promised she'd take it to her grave. Victoria invited me back the next month. This time I brought the letters and photos. We sat in her living room surrounded by books and plants, and she told me everything. They had been inseparable from the moment they met in that dusty lecture hall. Eleanor was the outgoing one, Victoria the quiet observer. Their love was passionate but careful. Stolen kisses in the library stacks, weekends in Chicago pretending to be roommates. When Eleanor's father discovered a letter, the explosion was immediate. No daughter of mine will live in sin, he thundered. He gave her an ultimatum. Marry Robert, who had always admired her from afar, or be disowned. Robert knew. Not everything, but enough. He loved her anyway. Believed he could make her happy. He proposed the week after she ended things with me, Victoria said. I begged her not to. But she was terrified of losing her family, of the shame. They kept in touch secretly for a few years. Then Mom got pregnant with me and the letters slowed. Victoria moved on, dated women openly after coming out in the 90s, but never found anyone like Eleanor. I went to your wedding, she confessed. Stood in the back of the church. She saw me. Our eyes met for a second, and I knew she still loved me. The revelation gutted me. My wedding photos, the joy on Mom's face. It had all been layered with grief. Back home, I confronted my father properly. You knew, I said. He nodded slowly. Not the full extent. But yes, I knew there was someone before me. She told me she loved me and I believed her. Over time, I think she did love me in her way. But not like Victoria. No, Not like that. The admission hung between us. My brother living in Seattle knew nothing. I decided not to tell him yet. My own marriage began to feel the strain. Mark sensed the distance. You're not here, Alex. Even when you're in the room. How could I explain that my mother's secret had made me question everything? My own life, my choices, the compromises I had made. One night I found myself searching late in life lesbian online. Stories poured out. Women in their 50s, 60s, coming out after decades of marriage. Some divorced. Some stayed. All paid a price. Was that my mother's story? Had she been one of them trapped? I called Victoria again. Did she ever regret it? Every day, she said softly. But she never regretted you. The confrontation with my father escalated over Thanksgiving. My brother flew in unaware of the storm. After dinner, with Lily in bed, I laid the letters on the table. Read them, I told Dad. He did, hands trembling. My brother read over his shoulder, eyes widening. This can't be real, my brother said. It is, Dad replied quietly. Your mother. She made her choice. For all of you. For us. I snapped. She lived in misery so we could have a normal family? Dad's eyes flashed. You think it was easy for me? Knowing I was second best? But I loved her. I gave her a life. A life of lies. The argument exploded. Accusations flew. My father's denial, my brother's shock turning to anger at being kept in the dark. I stormed out, driving aimlessly through Evanston's quiet streets. Mark found me hours later in a park, crying on a bench. I don't know who I am anymore, I whispered. If my mother could hide something so huge, what else have I missed in my own life? He held me. You're not her, Alex. But was I? My marriage was comfortable, but was it passionate? Had I chosen safety too? I started therapy. The counselor listened as I unpacked decades of family mythology. Coming out in the 80s was terrifying, she said. Many women did exactly what your mother did. The guilt, the fear, it was overwhelming. Victoria and I stayed in touch. She sent me a box of Mom's old letters she had kept. Reading them was like meeting a stranger who shared my mother's face but had a freer soul. In one, dated 1995. Lily is walking now. Alex is so smart. But at night I still dream of you. I wonder what our life would have been. The pain was visceral. My brother eventually came around. She did what she thought was right, he said. But it doesn't make it fair. Dad and I reached a fragile peace. I never wanted to hurt her, he said one evening. I just wanted her to be happy. None of us were really, I replied. 6 months after Mom's death, I stood on the shore of Lake Michigan with Victoria. The wind whipped our coats as we scattered a small portion of Mom's ashes. The rest had gone to the family plot. She would have loved this, Victoria said. Being free by the water. I nodded. I think she is now. In the months that followed, something shifted inside me. I joined a support group for adult children of LGBTQ parents. I listened to stories similar to mine. Hidden lives, late revelations, the mix of anger and understanding. Mark and I went to counseling together. I need to figure out who I am without the weight of her secret, I told him. He understood. Our marriage survived, stronger for the honesty. I told Lily the truth, age appropriately. Grandma loved someone very much before Grandpa. It was hard for her to talk about. Lily hugged me. I'm glad you told me, Mom. The biggest change came when I volunteered at the local LGBTQ center in Chicago. Helping young women navigate coming out, I felt Mom's presence. She had wanted me to find Victoria so I could understand, and perhaps break the cycle. One evening, Victoria and I had dinner. Do you think she forgives herself? I asked. I think she forgives us all, she replied. Especially herself. Today I live differently. I speak my truth more openly. I hug my daughter tighter. I tell Mark I love him, not out of habit but choice. My mother's final whisper didn't just change me. It freed me. Was hiding her love the greatest act of sacrifice, or the deepest betrayal of self? True or false? A lifetime spent living someone else's truth can still be a life well lived.